Is up, everybody? Welcome to Switch Pitch. This is the E3 edition. I got a special guest here. Not only the KC from the SwitchCast. Hey, what's going on?
Hey, I don't know if I'm a special guest, but I'm a guest. I'll accept that. That's how is it going? I'm very happy to be here and excited to talk with some E3 stuff coming up.
Awesome. So we got a lot to go for. The main topic we got going on here is Nintendo's online service. I don't know if you heard about it, Casey, but they announced online. I believe it was last week on my stream. Out of nowhere, it was like someone was just like, bam, online. And what do you think about it?
I think the timing was like particularly hilarious for me. I had just posted last week's podcast like an hour before that announcement was made, and I was like kicking. I was like, why couldn't they like do this either? If it was like maybe an hour earlier, I could have edited it into the show. But because there's so much good stuff to talk about there, I had to wait a whole week to talk about it. But yeah, no, it's great news because one, the for me the first biggest thing was the fact that it was the $20 for the year service. I had actually called out like way back ago that I figured Nintendo would only go for a $2 a month kind of service, and that got scoffed at by a lot of people, but some people realized that they're not going for like big over the top thing. They're trying to be consumer friendly, and that is a very consumer friendly price range for what they're giving that they mentioned in it is more than worth that investment, I feel like. So I'm very happy with that.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. I mean, there was some rumors and scuffles about them $25 and $30, in yen currencies. But the fact that it's $20 for a whole year, I don't know, I was so mind-boggled the fact that they made it that price. And I feel like they're so competitive right now with I believe it was Xbox's Game Pass, their thing, and they wanted to kind of like undercut that and be like, hey, we'll announce $20 for a whole year or $4 for a whole month, or $8 for 3 months, and you'll get some classics. I think it's like the best price.
I think that's a good price. Also, I like the approach of the 3 classic games like that, because I just finished posting my podcast where we talked about a lot of the same stuff. So a lot of this is really fresh in my head. So I might repeat myself to any of my listeners that are on here with us. But I feel that that's a great amount of time, because those games, I like playing those classic games, but I don't like playing them forever. I like playing them for like a month. I get really into them. Like, let's say they give us Super Mario 3 1 month or Dr. Mario. I will get into that. But I don't need to play it for that much time. And by the time I get bored with it, bam, all right, here's another 3 games, and they're all equally exciting, really.
I love the fact that they added online capabilities to this. And I'm just so curious in what they're going to actually do with the online capability. Are they going to add like a leaderboard or anything like that?
That's my guess. I'm going to say that the safe money is on kind of like what the Neo Geo classics have done. They've added a lot of online features to those games, but most of them are, leaderboards or a daily challenge, and they just see how, like for Samurai Showdown at least, there's a mode where you try to see how many opponents you can beat in a row without losing, and that's the leaderboard for the day. So it's not like very robust, but it's something. I could see them going at least a step further than just leaderboards, like maybe a daily challenge, or maybe Dr. Mario will have like, all right, here's a special setup, and we'll see if anyone could actually beat this today or beats it the fastest.
Oh yeah, and the speedrunning community are gonna go crazy for this. Maybe they'll have like some like countdown thing, and they'll show you the timer for like Super Mario Brothers 3 or something. That'd be pretty cool.
I mean, the community is the big driving force for everything Nintendo always, and having the online anything with this is just going to fuel them to take whatever Nintendo gives us and go one step further and make it that much more intense.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And since the price is $20 or $5 or whatever the price is, they're trying to add more to it. So they're gonna do it kind of like how PlayStation does it, where they kind of like, I guess, add games per month, and then they'll kind of get rid of these games and add more games. Did they clarify with that?
It's going to be a rotating system. So yeah, every month or whatever time period they pick, you'll have the 3 games to play, and they'll only be available for that month. And then at the end, they'll rotate them out. That's what I was saying before about like, I'm excited to play them, but those are not games I need to play for more than a month necessarily. So you'll have access, and then yeah, the next 3 will be, if you're still a member, you'll have access to the next 3 games that get in.
The perfect rotation. All right. So next topic we have here, which was a huge one, obviously this week. The Pokemon Direct.
Yes.
A lot of I don't know, a lot of upset people out there. I know there's a lot of our community people that are out there that are a little upset on the Pokemon Direct. I honestly, I'm happy. I'm content.
Let me ask you. I just want to know, for my understanding, what's your like Pokemon back? Like, how much of a Pokemon fan are you?
I'm a huge Pokemon fan. I grew up with Pokemon cards, Pokemon the game, and stuff like that. And me and my girlfriend now, we play Pokemon Go like crazy.
Oh yeah, I'm a big. I just recently, a couple weeks ago, I got what I think is the best Pokemon Go accessory imaginable, a bike. And I have it really rekindled my Go playing, and I've been on it every day that I'm not recording a show like this, or I'm not like editing or something like that. I am on that bike after work, and I'm just hatching eggs and catching mon.
I've been telling her to get a bike. I have a bike, and I'm like, if you just get a bike, we can tag team, catch some Pokemon. We live in the city of Chicago, so it's easier.
Oh, yeah.
It's easier for us to just kind of like travel the bike paths and stuff like that.
Yes.
And catch some Pokemon. Yes. But hopefully she'll get a bike soon.
But I mean, I'm a long time. I mean, my first podcast ever was a Pokemon podcast called The Palette Tribune. You could look that up on Bulbapedia. I swear, we're the first one. And we, so like, I was really waiting. I've always been more of playing them as RPGs. I'm not a competitive player in that, like, even the main games, I don't play them for the verses. So I'm really mostly interested in another RPG of Pokemon to play.
Are you more about lore, or are you more about the gameplay mechanics? Like,
I guess the lore, I guess the story. That's why the Sun and Moon is so dear to me right now. I feel Sun and Moon are the best execution of a storyline in a Pokemon game, and it really evolved the series as a whole, I feel like.
Oh yeah, I totally agree.
The battle but the game still needs to be interesting, and I feel like even though it's not a hard game, Sun and Moon, it probably added more interesting challenges than any of the last few generations. It's been an overall win for me. Now, that said, I definitely was hoping, like I'm sure you and many others, that they were going to announce another mainline Pokemon story, and when they didn't, I was really disappointed. But I also realized after the fact that it doesn't make sense for them to do that at this point. Because obviously they were working on Sun and Moon 2, or whatever the sequel was going to be to it, probably before Sun and Moon was even released, right?
Yeah.
They were going to make this game. This was just going to happen. And they probably are right now working on Pokemon Stars, or whatever the Switch Pokemon game is. Maybe it's going to be a whole new generation or whatever. But they can't announce that yet. Because if they announce that, less people will probably buy Sun and Moon. They're probably going to be like, you know what? I can skip Sun and Moon 2. I'm going to wait for that really cool looking Switch one that just blew my mind. No. So they're going to hold off on that. I think that's still in the works. They just can't announce that yet. So I kind of calmed myself with that and just said, all right, let them show off this, and maybe I'll focus on the Pokken tournament, and maybe I'll actually try to get into that, because that really does have a lot of people hyped.
The Pokken tournament?
Yeah, Pokken Tournament.
I am pretty excited for it. I missed it out on the Wii U, and the fact that they brought it over to the Switch, I'm actually pretty excited for it. We were like about to pick up the game at Best Buy, and me and my girlfriend, and I'm just like, maybe we should just wait a little bit. And that was like the moment of like in the back of my head, maybe they'll come out with some like port on the Nintendo NX or something, and hey, there they go. You know?
Yeah. I mean, the cool thing is, though, the controller from the Wii U one is compatible with the Switch version. So even if you did get that one, you still have a pretty useful little tool there. And, you know, the community is the biggest thing. The fact that this new one is going to revitalize the Pokken competitive community, both in online and just the fact that you'll probably be able to take your copy of it and play it with people anywhere with the Share the Joy mode and the split screen, which I didn't even realize this requires a split screen multiplayer till we talked about on the podcast. And really? I didn't realize that the controls are based around this like, you know, third person view. So it needs split screen, which wasn't available on the Wii U. So they added that to this one so you could actually play 2 players on one Switch. And that's pretty cool.
That is pretty awesome. I feel like Nintendo is like driving the competitive scene this year. Like they have ARMS, they have Splatoon 2, and now they have Pokken Tournament. You know, each individual have invitationals for E3 this year.
Yes.
And who knows down the line, maybe they'll have Super Smash Brothers for the Switch. I just feel like they're just driving it hard with the esports scene. They really want to gather people and have a good community with the esports scene, and I totally agree.
You know what they might need at this point with so many of these coming out? Forget about even individual competitions. They're going to have like a Switch-athlon where it's not even just about being good at one game. They're going to have a 10 game or 5-6 competitive Switch games that people will prove themselves in a series of competitions.
That sounds awesome. One of the biggest things to this Direct that really got me crazy was the fact that they announced the virtual console of Gold and Silver. That really blew me away because I'm such a Gold and Silver fan. Like that was probably the biggest Pokemon game that I enjoyed as a child.
That really was a big point for a lot of people. That's actually the generation I fell off of the series for a while.
Okay. Which one did you...
I didn't dislike it, but I just don't think after that I kind of just drifted from the series for a few generations before I hit back with it hard.
Where did you hit back with it hard?
Oh, that's hard. I think... What was... I was the one. I think Black and White really drew me back in hardcore because it was the New York series, right? And I'm a New Yorker, and that just really rekindled my spirits in the game. And once I got back into that, and I was doing the podcast for a while back then too, and just getting into the community. Even though I didn't play the mainstream games that seriously at that time, I was still a fan of the Pokemon culture and the surrounding games.
I enjoyed Black and White's storyline. I thought it was pretty interesting. I felt like that was one of those storylines that really got me even more back into the Pokemon franchise.
They started something really interesting, but they never totally landed the whole idea of, hey, you people are using Pokemon as your slaves and you're making them do your bidding. And it started out with that little quandary, am I doing something bad? And then just kind of forgot about that. And they were like, no, you're still good. I think they could have gone a little further maybe with that, but they weren't quite ready. Again, why Sun and Moon is so great. That is Lily's story. Sun and Moon is a story about a girl who learns to become a Pokemon trainer because she wants to become self-reliant. That is a really inspirational and just a strong story with actual character development.
I can't agree any more than that. I love Sun and Moon. I seriously do. It's legitimately the best storyline of a Pokemon franchise, and graphically it's the best.
Graphically, It's definitely one of the best professors. I feel that
Yeah.
he just having a professor who actually is out there and involved with your thing, and that last battle, that's the best Elite Four finale I've ever. I got chills when I was like, You're the one I'm fighting. You're the champion. Oh, not since Gary Oak was my final challenger, and it actually was like a plot twist. Not since then have I been like, this is serious. I have to beat this champion. This is a real fight now.
I agree. So after the Pokemon Direct, we got.
I will say what's really awesome though about that virtual console of Gold and Silver is that it is connecting to the Pokemon Bank?
It is, yes.
That's great that they're doing that so that they can connect and still affect your other games. So you're not like usually like people who go back and play emulators of old Pokemon games. It's usually like, all right, I'm just playing this game and it doesn't really matter what I catch because it's only stuck in here. The fact that it still connects to the rest of your Pokemon world, that makes this little virtual console game actually something that matters. It's a pretty huge deal that they invented that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the fact that they are going to connect, to be able to buy the virtual console game and then be able to transfer your Pokemon to Sun and Moon or Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. So
that really matters. Yeah, that's gets me.
So next we got something that's we got some different sides here. I forgot to even show them. So the biggest thing obviously is E3.
Oh yeah.
I'll start with you. What is your E3 predictions? I was listening to you guys a little bit. You guys on your podcast, you guys did your own E3 predictions. Maybe we'll go a little quicker through them.
Yeah.
Go ahead and start and maybe give us a game that you think that's going to show.
All right. I mean, I have, and these are predictions based solely on. Well, I'd say 85% on just wishful thinking. I really don't have any research to back this up. But one game I felt, a third-party game that I was really strongly thought would be a great fit for a Switch port would be World of Final Fantasy. That was announced last E3, I believe, and that was a great Vita game. And I've called that since then. It's Kingdom Hearts without the Disney characters. And that appealed to me because that was the Disney part was like my least interesting part of the Kingdom Hearts kind of games. I like that story type of thing, but I didn't really care for, teaming up with Goofy here and there. This kind of was, and it was a really strong Vita game that because it's on the Vita, no one really played it that much, so I feel that it didn't get to express its full potential. And I think bringing it over to Switch would be a great home for it to kind of spread its wings to a whole new audience that could maybe even breathe a little more life into this, what could be a franchise that is worth growing from here.
I could totally see that. I picked up World of Final Fantasy Black Friday last year for the PS4, and I played a little bit of it and I didn't finish it. But that would be awesome if they, since they have a little bit of more ties now with Square Enix, that they showed World of Final Fantasy come into this.
Exactly.
That would be awesome, and I would actually probably pick it up. The fact that I didn't get it for the Vita, so now I can get it for the Switch and play it on the go. That would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I was a big Vita fan last year. Before the Switch was, it's hard to imagine that last E3. We didn't even know the Switch was a thing. That was it was still a rumor that there's this thing called the NX. And everyone's kind of maybe Nintendo will announce their new system here. And they didn't. And we're just, okay.
I love it. I love the fact that they started out early for this. Now let's get everybody just warmed up for the whole entire year. Just keep going. Keep them coming.
I mean, that's my only, real, I'll say, prediction. Everything else was just we all the things that we do or don't expect. I'm not holding out hope for a Metroid. I feel like that would be a huge thing, but I just don't feel it. I guess that's all I could say. My gut doesn't feel that they're ready to announce Metroid yet, but I feel that the next Animal Crossing we have a shot at, and I was saying that I think that it would be interesting if they found a way for the next Animal Crossing to have a tie-in with the mobile game that they are going to releasing soon. Since they're going to have that whole mobile phone app for the online service, I think it'd be very interesting and innovative of them to tie that service in with their mobile game selection. And a game like Animal Crossing, I feel like, would be a good place to test the waters of that. Maybe just have a little thing where people playing the mobile game might be able to have their characters drop in on people who play the Switch Animal Crossing.
I would love that. The fact that I actually have Animal Crossing on one of my lists actually as well. And the team that did Animal Crossing New Leaf, they did Splatoon, I believe, and then they went a little bit and they did Splatoon 2. But I think that the team's pretty big, so I could see them splitting off and going to do Animal Crossing for the Switch. It's been quite some time. I believe, when did New Leaf come out? Maybe 2010 or 11 or something like that. So we're about due for an Animal Crossing game for sure. And the fact that, like you said, bringing it, from the mobile side of things, tying it into the Switch, that really makes a lot of sense. For your Metroid, though, I really think I'm on team not only one Metroid game, but bringing two Metroid games.
Yeah?
I think so, only because people really want Metroid. It's one of those, like, E3 rumors that is just, it's sparking. I was watching a video, actually, earlier today about a YouTuber saying that he's a big Metroid fan, and that he said that there won't be a Metroid because he thinks that they're not ready for it, like what you said, and that they'll announce it later on, and they think that Nintendo is not ready to show a lot of 2018 games, and that they're only ready to show only 2017 games. And I can see his point, because Nintendo has definitely said that this E3 is going to focus a lot on 2017 games, so it could show up or it couldn't show up, but I'm gonna stick to my guns. I'm gonna stick to two Metroid games, one for the Switch, and then one 2D Metroid game for the 3DS. I think that's.
And you mean like an actual Metroidvania, or are you expecting them to do the first-person type?
Like a first-person or third-person, kind of like Other M on the Switch, and then a 2D Metroidvania, like a Super Metroid game, kind of like Metroid Fusion on the 3DS.
Now that you talk about it, what I could picture them doing, if they're really going to slam dunk anything, and they seem to be on a roll, now would be a great time for them to reinvent Metroid the way they reinvented Zelda this year, and maybe open it up to. I didn't play Other M. That was still a Metroidvania type game. Was it? It was 2D still, right?
It was a third person. It was kind of more anime-y, and it was like a third person view. The game, a lot of people didn't like the game, but I liked the game, but the storyline wasn't that great. That was the only problem with that game.
If they make a new Metroidvania, I feel like they would try to at least reinvent it in some way. But honestly, I still think the best way is just to make a really sprawling, like the hugest Metroidvania yet. The one with, like, you're in an entire moon and there's just tunnels and side missions that you can get lost in. Like something that would feel deep on the level of Breath of the Wild, that there's just so many corners you can get lost in, but it's still, it's still a game that you can just focus on the main mission. Like Zelda, you could beat that technically in an hour if you just do the Prime Directive missions. If they made one like that, but they just filled it out so much with all the nooks and crannies and secrets to dig up, that could really be the mind-blowing Metroid that people want.
I took the words from my mouth. I totally agree. There was actually I talked about this like earlier on, maybe like 3-4 months ago, when like Metroid thing came out, that what if they announced a Metroid game and it was kind of like Mass Effect, where it was a third-person game like Mass Effect, and it was like this open-world Metroid game, and it was based, like how you said, it was based in this like Metroidvania type of thing. The levels are like puzzles and stuff like that, but it's very space-esque, and it has this like RPG element to it, where it's kind of like you're Samus, and there's this huge storyline, and it's kind of like Zelda Breath of the Wild, where you kind of have this open world, and it's like this like huge game. I don't know, I'm thinking a little too much into it, but that game would be, I don't know. Maybe it's a hopeful wish, but
hey,
I don't know.
The name of my last podcast that we just posted is called Big Dreams. All right, this is what E3 is about, and this is what the anticipation's about. This is Christmas Eve for us because we get to just dream. I say forget about what you think is logical or what you expect. The real purpose of these speculation episodes is just to get us excited and to dream big, and then we'll be crushed when our oversized dreams are nowhere near what can actually be done in the real world.
And I understand. Some people have the high expectations. Maybe I need to bring my expectations a little bit.
Just don't let yourself get annoyed when they don't meet our dreams. That's the problem. It's like, it's fun to get excited. Just, we know that we're just dreaming bigger than might be practical, and you don't get mad at Nintendo when they can't read your dreams and make them all come true. I'm going to be excited I'm sure whatever they do announce is going to be awesome.
Do you have any more predictions or anything that you think that they will show off?
I mean, nothing's super interesting. I mean, I think that we'll see we'll probably get a nice sizzle reel of the next big load of Nindies. I know a lot of the Nindies that were announced the last montage aren't all out yet, but I think we'll get another one to to kind of tease us for the next big wave of Nindies, and those are always interesting because I've been loving the Nindies lately. I really can't wait to see. I've played more of those downloadable games than I have of almost any of my physical games right now.
And they just keep coming. We're going to talk a little bit about them later on, but there's so many of them that just keep getting announced. I'm like typing away probably like 5 to 6 of them a week. It's unbelievable. And I'm happy that Nintendo is just giving us games after game after games, and the fact that a lot of them are giving us physical releases, I think that's pretty cool too.
Well, probably I'm gonna guess that Skyrim might get announced because that was one of those things that we were expecting earlier in the launch, and I feel that got pushed back because it wasn't wise to release it at the same time as Zelda, and so I think that this is a good time to make amends. I mean, not that I know that they did any of that, but I'm trying to read between the lines. I expected Skyrim was originally going to come out earlier, but they backed off, and this is kind of their opportunity to be like, okay, you didn't get the momentum of being a launch title, but we're going to make you a big deal at E3 to build up your momentum, and then announce its release and let it get out there, because that's another really huge game people are excited for. But it was a little too similar to Zelda to really be worth coming out at the same time. And now people have beat Zelda, people are kind of done with that, so it's probably a good time for that game.
Speaking of Zelda, my last prediction, and we'll move on to something different. I'm gonna say Skyrim, Zelda Skyward Sword HD.
Oh, okay. That could be cool.
I feel like that's the last of the Zelda games that I feel like they need to give it a little bit of an HD touch. And since they probably won't have a Zelda game, next year, since they already have a Zelda game this year, maybe that would be the perfect segue into a different game for next year, maybe.
Yeah, no, I loved Skyward Sword. It's probably my favorite, actual Zelda person. The Zelda in Skyward Sword is probably one of my favorite personification of Zelda. And Groose, I mean, it was a good balance of the comedy, and I don't know, I did fall in love with that game. And I'm not a big Zelda fan actually in general. I always love them. I respect them as a series. I've just never played them obsessively. I've never gone out of my way to get them all. But Skyward Sword spoke to me on a certain level. It just had a nice, I don't know, I guess I like the aerial worlds. I like the down-to-earth Zelda, and I like the mythology that it kind of dove into, the actual origins of all this stuff.
It had a great storyline. I think it's just the whole biggest thing is that the whole Wii Motion Plus like sword thing was the biggest downfall. And if they did HD, maybe they'll bring the fact that you can play in a Pro Controller or the Joy-Cons.
I always wanted them to do. I don't think they will, but I always thought that game deserved to have a side story that is of Zelda's missions during there, because you always got the impression she was doing just as many adventures and going through dungeons as you were, because she got that harp and she throws it to you at one scene. Like that felt like that harp was probably the treasure of a dungeon she got through while you were off doing your thing. And I feel like a nice tie-in would be you're playing all the dungeons she handled with Impa at her side, and then you do that same scene where they cross over, you pass that on to Link, and then you go on and keep doing your adventures. That would be my dream, but I don't think that would happen, but it's cool.
That sounds like actually pretty cool. If Nintendo's listening, we want a Zelda game based off the Skyward Sword Zelda, and all right. So, just for fun, I have here a little bit of a quote-unquote internal use.
Yeah, these things.
Internal use E3 piece of paper that someone posted on the internet. And it has a bunch of like mumble jumble games that they're quoting to be going to be at E3 or what they're going to be showcased. I could run through a few of these, and a lot of them are just basically what we basically know. Super Mario Odyssey, the Mario and Rabbids game, and they have that Kirby working title. But it's just funny because it says working title. Like you would think they already have a name for the working title. And then a Mario Party game. I don't see that really happening right at this moment. That Mario Party game kind of flopped. I would love a Luigi's Mansion 3, but I don't see them really doing that, at least right now. I think that team is working on a different game right now. And then the again, it has working title here.
Yeah, these things are almost always just some troll with a decent printer who just makes a little a little fake piece of paper and pretends it's a it's a stolen document. In fact, that other one you have, the one you have here that says Presentation 2017 on it.
Yeah, this one right here.
That's the one that they quote unquote leaked before the what was it? Not October, the January presentation where they revealed the details about the Switch. Yeah. That was leaked supposedly then, and these were going to be the games that they announced there. And it obviously wasn't called Mario Kart 8 Switch It. There is no Splatoon counterattack, and there is no Mario Frostland.
Yeah, Frostland. So, yeah. As if like Mario is cold all the time in this game.
Maybe they were thinking of I Am Setsuna, which could be called like Chrono Trigger Frostland. That's kind of how that feels.
Yeah, and then Super Mario RPG Rabbids Invasion. They just took two games and they completely squished it together, basically.
It's tricky because we want information, and then these guys kind of try to feed that. But it's you gotta know when. We're all pretty sure when these are just trolly little fake leaks.
So it's a little E3 fun, I guess. Next thing is we have it actually came out today, and again, this is a take a grain of salt type of thing because it's a rumor, but someone works at Nintendo. He's over there.
My dad works at Nintendo.
My dad's cousin's dog's tick on his hair works at Nintendo, and he's got some inside scoop of the E3 showroom floor, and he gave us some detailed analysis on what's basically there in details, like the Mario Odyssey and what's actually being. A lot of this is actually pretty detailed. If he is an actual person, he's pretty good at making some details or making up some details. You got some Mushroom Kingdom appeals to be playable. It shows that Arms is there, Splatoon 2. he acts like Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle is like, is that actually leaked? Like, yeah, it's
No,
leaked.
that's see, I stand by that. That was leaked intentionally.
Oh yeah.
I was pretty because I'm a little familiar with Ubisoft's tactics in these matters, and I believe that they are very much in they're not adverse to doing a fake leak like that to hype a game a little bit.
Yeah, I think that from what I heard is this game Mario and Rabbids has been in the works for like years. It was supposed to be on the Wii U or something like that, and it came to Nintendo with this idea, and then Nintendo, I guess, was like, yeah, let's do it. XCOM with blasters, Mario and Rabbids, let's go ahead and do it, and they let them do it, and like you said, maybe they're just like, let's just let this slip a little bit, and let's have everybody hyped up a little bit, and then we'll announce the full game and show the gameplay, and it'll gain even more momentum and get kind of crazy after that. One of the things that a lot of my members are getting kind of crazy about is the fact that they're porting over, from what this information is, they're porting over Toki Mirage Sessions Sharp FE, and I keep saying, like, they spent a lot of money on the assets of that game. Their business. They were at the end of the cycle. That game was at the end of the cycle of the Wii U. It makes a lot of sense that they would do that. Because the fact that they want to get a lot of the money from the Wii U side. What do you think?
About
At least on that game, the Toki Mirage. The fact that this guy is saying that Toki Mirage Sessions is supposed to be, there's a boost there, I guess.
I mean, any really good game that came out on Wii U, I think is a strong contender for something that'll be announced for Switch. Because, and we say this a lot, like, one of the most common questions we get asked is, why are there so many Wii U ports to the Switch? And our answer is, because these are good games that people invested money to make, and they didn't see their full potential on the Wii U. And and that's a sad truth that the Wii U wasn't as successful as it could have been, but these are still great games, and there's a lot of people who will enjoy them if they get brought over to the Switch, and so it's just an easy economic way to bring them over. And that was a pretty cool game. I felt it's not my kind of game. It's very I love the crossover of things. I'm not a big Persona fan, but I do love the Fire Emblem characters that join in that one there, and but it's a little too Japanesey and doesn't really actually feel like it has anything to do with the Fire Emblem characters other than they're here to dance. I mean, it's a cool concept. I don't know if it's so adapted to the US market that it would be a huge seller if they did it, but I think people just know those two series well enough that they'd buy it on franchise recognition if it did come over. So I think it's a pretty strong contender to come over.
Yeah. Okay. Enough of the E3 predictions. The last thing here is one of the biggest questions that just got announced, I think, a couple of days ago. So they're supposed to be having the spotlight at 9 a.m. Pacific time, and then 30 minutes later they have the Treehouse live. Now, the biggest thing is that people were saying, it's 30 minutes, I don't think they're going to be able to cover a whole bunch of games in 30 minutes, and I think this is a new Nintendo. This is a brand new CEO. The fact that the ARMS and Splatoon Direct that they had, where they just announced like a bunch of different games, I just think that they're going to be doing things on that front. They're going to be like knocking out trailers, like it's a Speed Racer out there, just ready for his race. And I think that's why it's 30 minutes. What do you think?
I think they've just really mastered controlling the messaging and not having to submit to the E3 format. Look, the Nintendo Spotlight is just one of the times they're using to show off games. We just had a Direct this week to get a bunch of Pokemon stuff off the plate. Great. And we had a Nintendo Direct not that long ago, and they've been showing off ARMS and all that. we've been getting the information for games that are coming out soon. They're just kind of clearing the way so that the spotlight. There probably will be a section of it that is, here's 20 games in 40 seconds, right? Or something like that. But I think it's more about 15 minutes of that are going to really focus on the big things. Probably Mario Odyssey, which is the number one thing people are looking forward to. In a bunch of polls that some of our listeners set up, but far and away, 80% of people were like, that's what they're looking for. And I wouldn't be surprised if 10 minutes of this thing were just dedicated to Mario Odyssey and really diving into and building up the hype for that. And then they'll probably pick something else, maybe something that there has to be at least one thing that we haven't seen before, that they're going to show off and give us maybe a 3-4 minute, dive into with. And we're going to see 2 or 3 new things. And then they're going to maybe tease us oh, by the way, here's something that's really cool, but we're going to have a Nintendo Direct for that next week to find out more about this. This 30-minute, this E3 is just one of the guns in their arsenal, and they're not gonna overload it with so many messages that you forget what the E3 is even about. You can't bury it, and I think that's the problem a lot of companies fall into. They let E3 control their entire marketing for a year because all the big reveals have to come out on this 1 week. And the Treehouse is always great. I mean, I think the Treehouse is where we'll really dive into stuff. I mean, that's where everything that they announced there, we'll watch them play for an hour or two. I remember I lost a lot of time from work last year watching, what was it, Ever Oasis? Oh, I loved watching them play Ever Oasis last year.
That game was awesome. I'm really excited for that game. One thing, it says right in the bottom of the Treehouse, it says, even share some surprises. And that is one hint that they said, I think maybe a month ago, where they said that they are going to have surprises at the Treehouse event. So whatever that they have at the E3 30 minutes, they might show something even bigger at the Treehouse event. So we don't really know what that is. They're not going to hint at that for no apparent reason. So who knows?
They will probably just mention it in the spotlight and say, oh, by the way, here's something you didn't know was going to exist. Oh, isn't that cool? That little 5-second trailer he showed you. If you want to see more, tune into the Treehouse right after this, and we'll play more of it.
I love the way that they do this, either the digital direct or the spotlights and the Treehouses. First of all, it saves them a lot of money. They don't have to go to E3. The second thing is that they knock things out so quickly, and everybody's attention span is there. It's hyped up. Everybody gets what they want, and then they go to the Treehouse. They talk to the developers, and they go in nitty and gritty, and they talk about everything that you really wanted to know at the spot or the digital direct or whatever. And I love that Nintendo is the first to do this. I hope that these other companies kind of follow suit. And
I do, because it's good for the whole industry. I feel that E3 in the past, at least I felt, has had some negative influences on production and marketing because so much had to be based around the date of E3. And if other companies start seeing Nintendo owning the messaging and taking control away from E3, I think it's just better because then games can reveal and come out and more at times that are better rather than everyone shouting at the top of their lungs and you maybe remember 1 or 2 games that somebody announced and you forget that, oh, there was a really great game that wasn't a AAA title, but it might have been an indie game, but you just didn't notice it because it couldn't get E3 spotlight.
Yeah, and that happens a lot. That happens at every E3. This news comes out of nowhere in the wall of news, and then you're just wait, what? That game came out? What happened?
And I'm not even because I'm not even usually the hugest games aren't the things I'm most excited for personally. I'm probably the game I'm dying to see most of all is Project Octopath Travelers from Square. I'm really intrigued by that game, and even if it gets 1 minute of attention in one of these things, I'm going to be over the moon because I feel like that's going to be my next obsession game.
Yeah, that game looks real awesome. That one and Lost Sphere. Like, have you seen the trailer?
Oh,
for Lost
yeah.
Sphere? That game looks so awesome. I'm so excited for that game.
It's those little games that I like to get more excited for. Mario Odyssey's great, but I'm never like a huge platformer guy. My wife is, though. She's going to be happy about anything that's announced and when we get that. But I personally, I'm not a platformer guy, and I'm sure Mario Odyssey is going to be one of the greatest games of the year, but it's just not one that's designed to hype me.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to get out of this E3 stuff. I feel like E3 is going to be embedded in our mind for the next week. So the next thing is some of the games that came out this week and actually came out today.
Yes.
We got Shantae, the Half Genie Hero, and then we have the ACA Neo Geo Shock Troopers Second Squad, the longest name ever. Did you pick up any of these two games?
I actually have Shantae on my iPhone. I bought this a while back. I'm a fan of the Shantae series. They're really solid platformers that I feel they're not underappreciated, but I still think there's room for more people to know about them and appreciate that they're good platformers with really cool, cute characters. And I just finished telling you I'm not a platformer guy, but actually Shantae is one of them because they had a very good version of it on my iPhone. And if you didn't know, my last podcast before the SwitchCast was the Pocket Players, where we talked about portable games, iPhone, 3DS, Vita type stuff, and that's where Shantae fit into all that. But no, they're very solid. I do recommend it based on my non-controller playing of it. Like the fact that it was still enjoyable on a touch screen just means that this is going to be even more enjoyable with actual buttons and controller and a big screen.
I didn't know that game actually came for the iOS. That's very interesting. Half Genie Hero. I have I believe there's another one, right? The Shantae series.
Yes, there's at least one other.
I think I got it on a Humble Bundle for the Wii U. I didn't play very much of it, but I was watching the gameplay of this. It reminds me of kind of like this Donkey Kong Country with this like genie theme, with this cutie chibi like genie like theme going on. Am I correct?
Yes. And at any point in the game, at least if I hit select, the time freezes and she just does some belly dances on the screen for no reason other than it's cute and fun to watch. If you just want to make it do that, and it does nothing gameplay wise other than, I don't know, just does something funny.
And if you're a fan of Wonder Boy, you'll probably like Shantae. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's a little bit. I think these are a little more. I think Wonder Boy is a little Metroid-y, like going back. If I remember JV's review of it, whereas Shantae's a little more straightforward level, jumpy.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right. So next week is E3 week, and we actually have we do have actually a bunch of games coming out. The first one is the best game. I can't wait for it. I'm being sarcastic. Cars 3 Driven to Win. I guess the movie is coming out, and they have a Switch game. I think that's really going to be about it. So
I know nothing about this one other than it was one of the few physical releases I saw coming up for a while.
And then we have the Mighty Gunvolt Burst. This game
I don't like.
You're not about this one?
Yeah, we talked about Mighty Gunvolt that when it was on 3DS actually, but Burst is kind of like a pumped up version of the 3DS game that came. It was also on other systems too, I think. But yeah, no, this is a really cool. This is the success story where Mighty Number 9 failed. I would say this is it is a Mega Man feel kind of game, but it just does its own thing with the formula. And just the basic gameplay is really interesting, where your shots aren't really the damage thing. Your shots just mark your enemies, and then you let loose your electric attack, which zaps everyone who's been marked by your gun. So it's a different mechanic to most of these games, which actually works out kind of interesting. And you do get new abilities from beating the bosses in the game. So, and they're not just like, here's your fire gun, or it's like just new abilities. And it was a very solid and a worthwhile game, and it definitely deserves a place of recognition here on the Switch. And with more characters and stuff, and you could play as Mighty Number 9 in it, which is kind of funny.
Really? Wow. That's
yeah, in Burst, he's a character that was added to it. So it's definitely, and it's by the people who made Blaster Master Zero.
Oh, okay. I like Blaster Master. That's a pretty cool game.
Yeah, and if you like it the other way around, Mighty Gunvolt is one of the characters you can play as in the DLC for Blaster Master.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. This art right here like gets me a little, like, I love like the retro like Mega Man like style in the background, and then you got this like the Mega Man style blasters and stuff. I don't know. I do like Mega Man. I wasn't a huge like the older school Mega Man fan. I like Mega Man Legends. That was my thing. That was my thing.
Oh, okay, yeah, the 3D one. Yeah.
All right, and then we have the big guns, ARMS, which is coming in the last day of E3. I feel like the song is like embedded in my head right now.
It is a really good song. It is. It's just that good voicing too of it. It really does drive it home. Yeah, you played in the test punches?
Yeah, I played it a couple of times. I played it the first weekend, and then the second time for the second weekend. My expectations in the beginning were very, very low, because I'm not a huge like fighting game competitive player. But then after playing this, I was like, okay, you got me a little bit, because I love the art style of this game. And I like the way it's the feel of the game. How about you? Like, what was your feel on the game?
No, I honestly, you know what the one biggest selling feature of it was? The lobby system. Oddly enough, like, I love the combat, and I had to warm up to that, and the customization of your fists based on your opponent and their little ability subtleties. But the way, like, because I'm always looking at these games as, all right, online play is one thing, that's cool, but I'm looking at when I meet with like 5 or 6 friends and we all set up around a table to play. I love the fact that lobby system just matches you up, throws you in a thing. You don't have to like get up and move chairs. You don't have to be like, all right, let me move over. How about you and me fight now? And how about you and him fight? You don't have to organize anything like that. It just kind of throws you all in this room and figures out, all right, you two want to fight one-on-one, you 3 fight on a free-for-all, you guys are in a co-op mode. It just keeps everybody busy and switches up the gameplay, and it just kind of acts as a moderator for a really fun local gameplay group. It's going to be huge for my Switch Fests. Those are like our meetups we do once a month.
That's pretty cool. Oh, because you're from New York City, right?
Yes. And a quick shout out to all of my fans that are in the chat room. I see right now there's a bunch of Abe and Pete and them are in there, and Pete, he runs groups also in New York also, so they're pretty cool. They I'm forgetting the name of your group, Pete. You could text if you type its name, I will happily give it a shout here.
Were you guys able to I know like CND and like some of those guys were up lining up over there for the Switch. Were you guys over there lining up with them, or are you guys
I'm not a line guy. I lined up for the pre-order. I lined up for a pre-order. I had to wait, like 12 hours for that, or and that's the limit I will do. But after I got my pre-order, I was like, I'm not waiting in line like a month or whatever for it. So I just waited till the lines died down. I actually got on the line the day it released, and I was too far back to pick it up that night because they're like, no, we're closing at 2. We're not staying open all night to give everybody it. So I had to come back the next day and pick it up because I was just not going to get online 8 hours early to like actually pick up my pre-order. So,
Yeah.
but I did stop by the line a lot. I met CND, I met a bunch of the guys. Mike's Monster Gaming's down there, and Switch and Play NYC. That's the name of Pete's meetup group there. He just messaged us in the chat room there. And yeah, it was a really cool group. I got to, I stopped by and hung out and just kind of fist bumped with them every so often.
All right. So we had a bunch of games that got announced this week. The first one, I don't know if you were able to keep track of these games. Like I said before, there's like so many of them. Phantom Trigger is the first one. Did you check out anything of this game?
Yeah, I saw some trailers for it, and these are the people who did, if I'm not mistaken, the Mr. Shifty.
Yes.
And this is, it looks very Hyper Light Drifter, and it has a fun, like, Ninja Gaiden kind of feel of, like, you're zipping around with futuristic laser swords and stuff, and I like it. It has a pretty strong, I'm definitely keeping an eye on this one. This is up my alley with the graphic style.
The next one is Runner 3. So this one came out of nowhere. I was a huge fan of the first one. The second one I didn't play too much of, and now I guess they're doing a third one, and it's coming to the Switch. Do you play any of this series, or are you excited for Runner 3?
I played Bit Trip Runner, and I played that on the Wii, actually. I think I downloaded that on the Wii. And yeah, they're pretty fun. And if you saw this one takes the graphics in a whole other direction, where they've been typically pixel graphics, and they were very simple and pretty in their own way. But now they just said, no, we're making this somehow full 3D glorious environments, like way more graphics than a runner type game would need, and it looks really nice. It's a interesting upgrade for the series.
Yeah, I remember seeing the trailer. Actually, I was like, this does look a lot different than a traditional Bit Trip Runner game. So that's good for them to improve on the series. The next one is Poi.
Poi?
Yes, Poi. I saw a little bit of a gameplay of this. It's so funny because if you watch the trailer of this, it looks so much like Super Mario 64. Yes. I was like, is this legitimately like a complete hash of Super Mario 64? Because like the environment looks like the environment from 64. Like the sliding of the ice slide part, and then
and just the triple jump. I saw them do the thing, and you could hear in your head the woohoo as he jumps in the triple there.
It looks cool. I mean, I probably would pick it up because more open world 3D platformers for the Switch is awesome to me. I'm a big open world geek. I liked the Snake Pass. I know a lot of people weren't really big into it. I actually enjoyed it, even though I feel like it needed a little bit more. So hopefully maybe this will bring us some more of that.
Yeah, Snake Pass was solid.
Next one is a game called Soldam Drop. Looks like another like Puyo Puyo type of game with this like anime chibi art style.
Yep, that's pretty much it. I don't know what the game I was trying to think of it that it reminded me of, and I forgot to say the name in my podcast was. It reminds me of Lumines, the one that was on. Yeah, that was on Vita and some other consoles, but that was a puzzle game where there was just the two types of colors that you drop. This looks like it has a different mechanic, but it does look like it's a puzzle game where there's just two colors of things that you're dropping on the screen, and I'm not quite clear on how you like clear lines or what the goal is of the gameplay, but I mean sometimes you just can't get enough puzzlers. It's a genre that hooks you.
Yeah, it keeps growing. My girlfriend's like a huge she's really big into these games. She's really big in Pokemon Puzzle League, and yeah, she likes that, and she loved the Puyo Puyo Tetris game. So maybe she will love this game. So keep them coming.
People still play that at the another of the things I do is I have a Pokemon League that meets once a month, and some people even though it's for like the 3DS games and competitive battling and stuff, people come and just play the Pokemon Puzzle League, and it's just a staple.
I will have to get her over there because she'll love every single person. The next game came out of nowhere. So you get the creators from Binding of Isaac. They announced The End is Nigh. This game looks pretty cool. It reminds me of... You ever played the game I Want to Be the Guy?
Okay, I was gonna say Super Meat Boy, but that's a similar kind of thing. Yeah, you know what? That actually might be a closer analogy, since I Want to Be the Guy is a little more stagey. Like there's a little more like length to the stages, and there's bosses in it.
Yeah, and I can see that being like this. It has this like Super Meat Boy meets like Gish meets like I Want to Be the Guy, in its own like feel, own like dark, Binding of Isaac type of feel to it. I like it. I think it looks pretty cool. How about you?
Which I just started playing Binding of Isaac this week, actually.
Really? How do you like it?
It's interesting. I cannot make a full judgment, only because like I want to see where the story goes with it. I mean, I'm enjoying it, but at the same time, I'm not like I'm not a huge fan of like cute horror, which this is. Like it disturbs me in weird ways, and fighting a poop monster, and I believe, and this is one of the things I couldn't say on my podcast, but it's one of the I'll say it here. It's a little PG-13. I ate a placenta in the game, which is horrible. I'm like, oh my god, this is so disgusting. But
there's no filters in that game, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, okay, it might not be the theme might not be for me, but I can't deny the gameplay is solid. Like it is. Like if I look at it purely as mechanically, it is a great twin stick shooter roguelike. It's just the aesthetics will either appeal to you, or you'll get into the mystery, or you'll be like, no, this is gross and stupid.
I always say it's like it's an old school Zelda game, but like really dark, as if like Zelda like was an old man or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Next game is Ocean Horn. I believe this is awesome a mobile game.
Yes.
It's supposed to be like a Wind Waker influence game.
Very much so. You will play this, and you will definitely feel. I think they unabashedly like they proudly say this is a game very much inspired by Wind Waker. Lots of ocean travel, island hopping. Fighting monsters with a sword kind of game, and it does it really well, and it did a really good job on iPhone. I mean, bringing that kind of gameplay to mobile devices is a really big task, and the fact that it was good enough and successful enough that they're actually like, you know what, even though this was originally made as a mobile game, it's still quality enough to be worthy on consoles is a good sign of it, and I do think it will have a fair place on the Switch.
I agree. I'm curious about it. I love some Wind Waker. Run through these a little quicker. Next game just came out today.
Yes.
Axiom Verge, Metrovania type of game. Looks like there's going to be some collector's edition physical release, and it looks pretty awesome.
We did this episode. We were talking about the Nindies in general, and someone asked us what we thought was missing from the list. Top of my choice, I said Axiom Verge. It was the indie game that was a really big mark on the Vita. And it had a pretty strong cult following, and I was like, this has to come to Switch. Like, this just feels like too important and too notable of an indie title to skip the Switch. And we had that scare, or some people were rumoring that it was coming on the Switch, but then it was said no. They said no, we're not coming to Switch. And now that they finally turned around again and said it is, I feel vindicated.
I'm excited. The first time I saw this game was watching AGDQ They're doing a speed run of Axiom Verge, and I was just like so glued to the screen. I was just like, wow, this guy is flying to this game, and it just looks beautiful. Like the visuals of it looks pretty awesome.
Really cool and darky. Like it has that fearful feeling that like the original Metroid had of like, I'm in trouble here. Like I'm really deep in danger.
The next game is another way forward game. Speaking of Shantae, they are announcing The Mummy Demastered. It looks like they're partnering with Universal. The Mummy, I guess the Tom Cruise Mummy movie's coming out, and they partnered with them to create a side scroller shoot 'em up game. Looks pretty cool.
Did they say this is coming to Switch? It just says console, so it seems like it's possibly coming to Switch, though. But they haven't yet confirmed which consoles, I think.
True.
Have they?
No, they didn't say exactly Switch, so...
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I mean, it's way forward, and, they have a relationship.
It makes sense. Next game is a group of 4 different games. The first one is Gear Club. This is all going to be remastered, according to the developer. The second one is Black Sad. This one looks very interesting to me. And I'll run through them. The other one is the Siberia series remastered, and then the last one is the Flashback remastered game. Out of all of these, I think the Flashback and the Black Sad are very appealing to me. How about you?
Siberia I am familiar with as a really well-regarded point-and-click adventure game, and I haven't played one of those in a very long time. Like, it kind of has a Myst feel to it, and that's a genre that has been pretty absent from consoles or anything I've played in a long time. So I'm actually looking forward to maybe giving Siberia a chance if it does hit the Switch, only because I miss just that, exploring, tinkering, solving puzzles, and just, figuring out what the heck's going on in the world as you poke your nose around.
That game was on the mobile side of things, right?
Maybe. I think it did come to mobile. It was originally, I think a PC title that did come to mobile eventually.
It looks pretty cool, like a point-and-click type of adventure game. I'm huge into point-and-click games, so if that is true, I'm pretty excited for that as well. It's
a genre that's kind of dwindled. I was just thinking about the old Indiana Jones ones I used to play.
That, and then hopefully maybe some Double Fine games make their way to the Switch. That'd be pretty cool.
Ooh, wait, Day of the Tentacle. Day of the Tentacle come back here. Those all came back on iPhone recently too. So
yeah, that makes sense. So the last few things we have here is we have more news. Yooka-Laylee updates. They basically ported or put out a big list of updates of what they're gonna have for the PC, Xbox, and PS4 version, and then they showed a picture of, them playing the game on the Switch. They're just trying to say, hey, it's coming pretty soon. You get all these updates that are on there, and I believe they're going to be at E3 as well, from what I've heard. And hopefully they'll give us a release date maybe during E3.
Yeah.
That's the biggest news.
I think they're going to have to show some people some improvements, because, I still think it looks good, but I remember the reviews for the released versions that came out were pretty meh on it and a little disappointed. So maybe the fact that the Switch is coming out a little later gives them time to maybe address some of those concerns and tighten it up in some of the ways so that it doesn't meet that same kind of reaction when it finally hit.
I'm glad we're getting the definitive edition of Yooka-Laylee.
Yeah.
The next thing is the Splatoon 2 accessories. They showed up on Amazon, and now they're at GameStop. They're showing up everywhere. I'm pretty excited for these. How about yourself?
I like these. They're not my style of customization. I'm not into the flashy colors. In fact, if anything, I want as few people to notice that I have an expensive system coming out of this bag when I'm like because I play a lot on the train, and that's my big worry. Like when I'm coming home at 11 at night from the city, and I don't want people to be like, oh, that case obviously has a big, expensive, fancy thing in it that I should go and stab him for. It's like, no, I try to keep it professional and low key looking. Though that said, I do have my the Sheikah Slate case, which is probably still a little standout. I might want to look into something more discreet, but these are all really cool, and it's just colorful and lively. It's nice, and people love the different colors. They love those Splatoon colors.
Splatoon goes all wacky for the colors. I agree with you. We both live in the big city life.
Yeah,
here in Chicago, it gets kind of like a war zone going on here. So making sure that anybody tries not to rob you for your Nintendo Switch. Hold that dearly to my life.
Yeah, it's definitely something you have to consider depending on where you go to play and when.
So, I believe that is going to... actually, no, we have one more thing, actually. The last thing is the Mario and Rabbids leaked amiibos.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that came out of nowhere. These, obviously, like you were talking before, Ubisoft maybe intentionally leaking out some stuff. And this is one of them. Looks like they got some Rabbids dressed like the Mario characters, and looks like they're amiibo forms. A lot of the members were pretty excited about this. They were like, "I'm gonna buy this. I'm buying this day one." I myself, I'm gonna probably wait a little bit. I'm so amiiboed out right now. What do you think?
I mean, these look pretty legit. I mean, even if they are. Let's say this is fake. It's a really good job. I don't think it is just because of how well done these look. Like they look professionally done and really smooth. So I'll say I buy that this exists. I'm not an amiibo guy, but I did just have a listener just say they wanted to send me some amiibo cards that they've made. Like they sell these on Etsy, and that's my bag. I want to try amiibo cards because I'm a portable player. I don't have toys on my mantle or anything like that, so I don't really display amiibos. I find the cards are much more appealing to me because they're easy to carry around and use and stuff like that. But I mean, these look cool, and I think a lot of people will buy these.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
And just the fact that it's the Rabbids all dressed up as the main Mario cast here, that's a really smart choice and really clever.
The one thing that's just a funny one is the Princess Peach selfie one is just... oh my god. That caught news by storm. So, we're going to end it right there. Thank you very much for joining on Switch Pitch, Casey.
Hey, it was a blast, sir. Very fun.
Where can we find you?
Yes, well, my podcast, the SwitchCast, is on pretty much anywhere you can get podcasts, but you can type in Nintendo Switch on iTunes. We're the first thing that comes up, or you could just look up the SwitchCast on something. We have a homepage at theswitchcast.com, and if you go to any of those things, we have links. We have a Facebook group. We have a Discord chat, a really fun group there, and we're on Twitter at the SwitchCast, and any of those things will link you to all the other community stuff that we do. We're mostly a podcast, so we don't stream live, but someday maybe.
Well, we definitely appreciate you joining in with us. Definitely the Nintendo Switch community definitely appreciates that, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Again, my name is Justin, and as always, have fun Switch.